We were talking a little bit before the podcast how the media landscape is changing, and read this thing the other day that Latin music, uh, going away from acting. I'm sure you have more knowledge of like the industry overall, and you keep up with like the industry no matter what it is, with in entertainment. So Latin music is selling, or more Latin and Latin audiences are buying more music than English speaking ones.
Hmm.
So I see the media landscape changing overall, and now there's a growing demand for Latin art. I don't know if you've seen
Yeah.
that, if you've noticed that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's one of, if not the biggest genre in the
Hmm.
world right now. Artists like as we were talking about before the show, artists like Bad Bunny have just completely changed the game and
Hmm.
um are dominating the charts when it comes to, they're selling out these like massive venues and hitting all these records and all of that. Like especially when you compare him to an artist like Taylor Swift, who's been in the game for a
Hmm.
very long time. Bad Bunny is somewhat relatively new in terms of
Right.
mainstream success. Taylor
Hmm.
Swift's been around for over a decade. Um, and yeah, it's just been really interesting to see the rise in popularity of Latin music and just Latin culture in general. People are more sort of open to watching these Spanish language shows on Netflix
Hmm.
and consuming our art and they love our food and our cocktails and our music and all of that. So
Yeah.
it's really cool, honestly, because like I feel like growing up that wasn't so much. I feel like only Hispanic people knew artists like um Selena, and then
Hmm.
later sort of Shakira changed the game a little bit going into mainstream, and then uh yeah, I feel like Latin music was sort of its own sort of genre, or Spanish language music was sort of its own
Hmm.
thing that never really crossed over as much, and then
Yeah.
slowly it has been over the last couple of years. So it's been really cool to see.
Yeah, and it's interesting to see that this could have been the case back in the 90s when Selena was going to be releasing a English language
Yeah.
album. And I mean, it's been 30 years in the making, but now with Bad Bunny collaborating with Drake, and then Drake collaborating with Chino Pecas, I think that's his name.
Mm.
We're really seeing a blend of different artists and different languages mixing together, and I think it's just great overall because now you're introducing more people to different um, forms of I wouldn't say entertainment, but different forms of like media, like different
Yeah.
cultures. It's what I wanted to
Mm.
say, and it's great. But now we also see the immense backlash that Bad Bunny has received over his halftime show performance.
Yeah. It's dumb. It's just like, guys, there are a lot of problems going on in the country right now. A 15 to 20 minute medley in the middle of a football game. It's not that serious. Like, everyone calm down. Every year someone has something to say about the halftime show artists. Some people don't like them. They're like, who, nobody asked for this, whatever. And now that because it happens to be an artist who almost exclusively makes Spanish music, if not
Right.
entirely exclusively makes Spanish language music, it's a problem. But it's like, but you all sing Despacito, and you all know who
Yeah.
Selena and Shakira are. When Shakira and J-Lo performed at the Super Bowl halftime show a few years ago, there was Spanish in it. Were people up that upset? Maybe they were. They just weren't that vocal about it. But
Hmm.
I feel like the biggest problem is how obsessed with social media we all are, and
Hmm.
everyone, because people now have a platform to share their opinion. They're sharing their opinion on a constant basis,
Hmm.
whether we want to hear it or not. And I think that that's kind of the main issue, is that like if we weren't as a, if this happened 10 years ago, we wouldn't be hearing all of this sort of
Hmm.
backlash about it, because it would sort of be relegated to people's actual conversations versus seeing everyone's posts about it in their tweets and all of that stuff. And all these like
Hmm.
sort of political commentators talking about it on their podcasts or their radio shows or whatever. But
Right.
now we're all just so connected that we're constantly seeing everybody else's point of view and opinion and whatnot, that now we're holding way more weight. We're giving more value to that than we used to, which is kind of annoying
I
because
agree.
it's just noise.
Yeah, you're absolutely right that it's just noise, but I see all these comments, but at least give a legitimate reason. They say that we should have a U.S. Citizen perform. I've seen that.
Yeah, which is
For
like, you guys don't know Puerto Ricans have U.S. citizenship? Like,
I mean, first of all, The Weeknd performed, not a U.S. citizen. Paul McCartney, not a U.S.
oh yeah,
citizen.
we've had many artists who are not U.S. citizens perform, but they weren't, or they were singing in English, so that wasn't the problem. It's just it's really annoying when you see people's like, they're kind of just grasping at straws for an
Hmm.
excuse, because they'll say like, oh, he's not American or whatever, or it's like, I forget who it was. I think it was Tommy Lauren, who's this political personality or whatever the hell job title she gives herself.
From the Beast, right? Or
Something like
so
that. Yeah.
something, yeah.
Yeah. Um, she was interviewing someone about it, and the person who was being interviewed was like, I don't see the problem with it. He's a great American artist. And Tommy said, well, he's not American. And the person said, he's from Puerto Rico. That's America, honey. Like, that's part of the country. Sure, it's not
Hmm.
a state, but it's a U.S. territory. It's part of the United States.
Yeah.
Um, you don't need a passport to travel from the U.S. to Puerto Rico, I think. Don't quote me on that. Now, as soon as I said it, I'm like, wait, is that true? But but they may not have voting rights in the United States, but they're still considered United States citizens. Um,
Yeah.
it's just and you bring up one thing like, oh, that's part of Puerto Rico. Okay, well, it's all in Spanish. Okay, so what? Like, it's just like, it's only a few minutes. Change the channel
Yeah.
if it's that much of a problem for you.
Yeah, I know. I've seen so much negativity now. Turning Point USA. I have nothing towards them because I was also part of Turning Point USA back when I was in college.
Mm.
But it's just like selective outrage that we're seeing.
Yeah,
And now Turning Point USA is going to have
like their own show or
their own
something.
halftime show.
So dumb. What a waste of money, but okay, whatever.
It,
People can do what they want with their money. Whatever.
Yeah, but it's just so much that is happening, and I just wish we could all just get along.
Yeah, at the end of the day, that's all we want. It's just like, oh, why can't we just get along, or at least like tolerate each other? I'm not saying we all have to be best friends and hold hands and sing Kumbaya, but like, what happened to just tolerance?
Hmm.
Like, you go your way, I'll go mine. We all mind our own business. I live in New York. New Yorkers mind their own business. Like, it's that's what they're famous for, and it's what
Hmm.
I try to do as best I can. It's like, oh, someone's having an episode or whatever. Someone, the other day, this woman was having the train car, the subway car was full of like,
Right.
60, 70 people, if not more. And this woman sees someone who, is sort of gender non-conforming.
Hmm.
You can't necessarily tell if they're male or female or assigned female at birth, or and she started going on this rant about like trans people and gay people and all of that. And she's just like talking very, not really screaming at anybody, but she's just talking very loudly, and everyone's just like minding their own business, rolling their eyes, listening to this nonsense, and they're just like, please let her get off on the next stop. Like, it's just let people live, let people exist. Like, I don't
Hmm.
understand. Like, they talk about sort of like, um, what is that word that the conservatives love when it comes to oh, indoctrination.
Okay.
They
Yeah.
love that word. Oh my
Hmm.
God. You'd think that word was just invented, considering how often they use it. No one
Hmm.
used that word 2 years ago, and now it's like all that they say. But
Right.
they talk about like indoctrination, whatever. I grew up in a religious household. I was indoctrinated to join a religion. I had no option. I was told as a kid,
Hmm.
we're going to church, and you're gonna sit here and you're gonna listen to this and whatever. And I have a very complicated relationship with religion now as an adult,
Hmm.
or organized religion, not religion itself, but the church as a sort of
Hmm.
institution.
Right.
Um, But yeah, it's just like you said, it's
It's
just why can't we all just get along? Why can't we all just like respect each other? And because so many people will say like, why don't you let people have a different opinion than you? And it's like,
mhm,
well, why don't you guys act like you let us
mhm,
do or say what we want when it's not harming anyone? But
mhm,
it goes both ways. You can't have your cake and eat it too. You have to,
mhm.
if you're gonna tell people you have to be tolerant, and there's a difference between like accepting something and being tolerant of it as well. I think people have to sort of realize that there's a nuance between those two.